No matter where folks are in the city, they're running to Citi Field. It's the place to be these days, and there's plenty of baseball to be found in Flushing today. They're coming off the 7 train, packing a lunch, and getting ready for a day-nighter. At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the San Diego Padres in the opener of a day-night doubleheader. Mets baseball is presented in HD by IOTV. Get your HD free with IOTV. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez with you today as the Mets play 2 separate admission games against the San Diego Padres. Mets love playing baseball at home right now. 9 straight wins in this ballpark, but a day-night doubleheader, well, that's a little different. As far as the player is concerned, a doubleheader is never an easy day, but what about this thing, a day-nighter?
Well, I think you always, as a player, when it's raining and you go, gosh, I'd like for them to call this game quickly so I can go home and have a normal dinner like the rest of the folks. Well, they did last night, but guess what? There's always payback, and it's today, and it's a day-night doubleheader. It makes for a long day at the ballpark, and in particular, this Met Ball Club, very red-hot. You want to play every day. It's tough to sweep a doubleheader, but they got their ace on the hill in the first game.
Mets took a 2-1 decision in 11 innings in the first game of this series 2 nights ago. Now they'll go with Johan Santana, and the biggest problem Santana's had lately is the fact the team hasn't scored for him.
Well, 3 earned runs in his, last 5 starts, and not much to show for it. His ERA was, at that point, over 4.5. It's down well below 3 now. 7 shutout innings his last start against these same Padres. That's the game that K-Rod blew. His last pitch was 1 pitch away from saving that ball game. A career 2-2 record, but a sparkling 1.99 earned run average in 6 starts against these Padres. So they got their ace on the hill. They need to get some runs for him.
And it's troubling for the Mets getting runs for Santana, in part because it seems to be matched up against aces. 22-year-old Matt Latos may not be an ace quite yet, but he's a very talented young pitcher.
22-year-old. He started out in his first 4 games 1-3, but boy, did he have a super May, a 1.54 earned run average and 4-1 in that month. He's a hard thrower with a good breaking ball. When he gets in trouble, like he did his last start where he took the loss in Philadelphia, he gets a little bit wild. If he throws strikes, he's tough.
Santana 15 scoreless in his last 2 starts. The Mets have lost both games. They'll try and get him some runs today as a long day of baseball commences in Flushing. AT&T, rethink possible. By Frostbrewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. By Audi, Truth in Engineering. And by Lowe's. Visit your local Lowe's to cast your Scott's MLB All-Star ballot and enter for a chance to win a VIP All-Star Week experience. Compliments of Scott's. Become a permanent part of Citi Field and order your Citi Field Fan Walk Amazing Moments brick today. The last chance to purchase your brick for the 2010 installation is tomorrow. Into Mets.com/fanwalk. Here's your Mets upcoming schedule. Remember, all Mets games on SNY are available in HD, presented by IOTV. And if you're in the car, listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. Today's game, tonight's game, and then the Mets move on to Baltimore to start a 9-game road trip in American League cities, 3 in Baltimore, 3 in Cleveland, and then 3 at Yankee Stadium to finish up the trip.
And kind of a fortuitous road trip. You got a Baltimore Oriole team very much in trouble.
The San Diego bullpen waiting for Matt Latos to finish using their workspace and giving him a little encouragement before he goes to work against Johan Santana on a comfortable Thursday afternoon in New York. Come on back for a whole bunch of baseball. Chase Headley hit 1-2 in the lineup for the first time this season in the opening game of the series, and Bud Black will go with that combination again despite getting only 1 run in 11 innings in the first game of the series. Headley's hit well against the Mets. Adrian Gonzalez, the big RBI bat, and Santana faces the Padres for the second straight start.
Well, his last time out, 7 scoreless, did not get the win. His last 6 starts, he has had 5 no decisions, and he has pitched well enough to be 8-2 at this stage of the season. And he's been Mr. Hard Luck in the Lexus Metsy defense. 2 errors committed, but Santana was pitching. Of course, you always play on your toes when you got a pitcher out there that throws strikes and works quickly. Cora gets the start this afternoon at second base, and Blanco behind the plate.
David Eckstein to lead things off. Eckstein 1 for 5 in the opening game of the series, and the long day of baseball begins with a fastball high for ball 1. Eckstein had hit leadoff almost 900 times in his career before this season, but had not hit leadoff this year until the opening game of this series Tuesday night. He had been hitting in the 2-hole behind a variety of leadoff hitters. Santana's had a couple of extra days of rest. In fact, he's had 3 extra days of rest since his last start with the rain out last night. Chase Headley on deck. So it'll be interesting to see how his command is early in the game. Eckstein gets under one to deep left field. Bay going back. And right near the wall to grab it for the first out of the day. So Eckstein trying to surprise Santana, and they exchange a pleasantry on Eckstein's way back to the dugout.
Well, down and in fastball right there. And look at Chase Headley getting up to the plate. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
We missed you in San Diego.
I heard you. I just can't resist. But this is not a great offensive ball club here, the Pods, that's for sure. Their rankings are in the bottom of a lot of categories except stolen bases, and that's a team that has to take advantage of some speed and try to steal some runs. Their pitching has been what's carried them.
Headley, a lifetime .423 hitter against the Mets, hitting .289 for the year. Adrian Gonzalez, by far the most dangerous bat in the Padres lineup, on deck. And Headley off the end of the bat. 1-2. The Padres come into the day now in second place in the National League West. When this series began, they had the best record in the National League, but the Dodgers have been so scorching hot. They won their 4th in a row last night. The Dodgers over their last 30 games are 23-7, and with that have taken a 1-game lead over San Diego in the West. Into shallow left center. Pagan started back, now coming on, and that's the second out. Now, Keith mentioned that the Padres offense has not been the best in the league, and that certainly is supported statistically. 14th in batting average, 13th in runs scored, 14th in on-base percentage, 14th in slugging percentage. So they rely on their pitching. They're second in the league in stolen bases behind the Mets, and they rely on this guy who drove in the Padres' only run on Tuesday night. And in the game Santana started 8 days ago, hit the game-winning grand slam. And Gonzalez takes ball 1.
And you can see the Mets have that shift. It's not the triangle shift, as you can see. Cora, and the outfield kind of shifted the other way. And I remember he beat the Mets with that grand slam to left field in San Diego. So he goes the other way. He attacks left-handers well, hitting .314 against left-handers with 2 home runs. He's also had 45 walks, 11 intentional.
Fouled off Blanco and back, 2-1. Well, Gonzalez had the opposite field double in the first inning off Mike Pelfrey Tuesday night. Barely missed a home run. That's the only run that Pelfrey gave up in 9 innings of work. Scott Hairston on deck.
In this ballpark, this big park, pitch him away, play him away.
Except with Gonzalez, he'll hit him away.
Yes, he will. How about Pelf? Boy, oh boy, he just like stepped up to the plate, or I should say, the rubber.
I was very interested to hear Jerry Manuel say yesterday that he considered sending Pelfrey out there for the 10th inning on Tuesday. Glad to hear that.
I didn't have a problem with him giving him the hook there. I'm just glad that everybody's starting to go deeper in games. The tough at bat right here. Gonzalez has such a sweet swing, very fluid swing. I've always loved his swing from the first day he stepped in on a major league field. This is a tough left-hander out there, and he's had a couple rips.
2-2 from Santana, and the changeup misses inside. A full count to Gonzalez. Well, Adrian Gonzalez 10 years ago was the first overall pick in the draft by the Florida Marlins. Took him a while to develop, though, but he has really hit his stride in San Diego, his hometown. Looped out into left field. That'll fall for a hit. So Gonzalez gets another opposite field hit. A 2-out single, the first base runner of the day.
Well, that makes him why he's such a good 2-strike hitter. This is tied up inside. Not in enough, but enough to jam him. Watch his shoulders. His shoulder's still tucked. He's just playing in the opposite field with 2 strikes, and that's just good hitting.
So Gonzalez aboard with 2 out. Here's Scott Hairston. Hairston hitting cleanup for the 5th time this year. Went 0 for 5 in that spot on Tuesday night. Hairston spent some time on the disabled list with a hamstring injury. He's at 226 for the year, but second on the club in home runs with 7. Second only to Gonzalez, and he takes the changeup for a strike.
And that's why he's hitting in the 4th spot. This is a team not with a lot of power. And you can see the defense pretty much straight up. A little shade to pull in the outfield.
Santana likes for right to guard the line against the right-hand batters. And the fastball away, 1-1.
Well, the changeup is going to be pulled, has a chance obviously to be pulled more by the right-handers. I just still feel that Jose could tip David when the changeup's coming, and David could shift to the line as the ball leaves Santana's hand. It just seems like a 100% commitment to that line, and Santana doesn't throw a changeup every pitch. It's interesting how Jerry Manuel asked Santana which game he wanted to pitch in this doubleheader, Gary, and he preferred the morning game, and I can't blame him.
I think most ace pitchers would rather go in that first game. And he's waited long enough to pitch. 8 days since his last start. 2-1, and the changeup out to right field. In comes Frank Core. And the side retired. 3 fly ball outs for Santana in the inning. Mets come to bat against Matt Latos in the bottom of the 1st with no score. The game on Tuesday night, leading off Ike Davis, who ended the game with a home run, hitting in the cleanup spot. Core and Blanco get the starts in game 1. Barajas and Tejada will undoubtedly play in game 2.
And there's Mr. Matt Latos, Toyota starting pitcher there. You can see right there's 11th start. Started out 1-4. Boy, he turned it around in May. It's a big, strong kid, born in Alexandria, Virginia. Grew up in Broward County in South Florida.
Numbers brought to you by Toyota. Reyes 2 for 4 on Tuesday night at 246 on the year, and he takes a first pitch fastball for a strike from Latos. Reyes' home run barely cleared the orange line, had to be reviewed after being originally called a double.
In tight at third base, Chase Headley.
Grounded, Headley can't get it, and Hairston has no play. Well, you play that third baseman in at your peril. Reyes bounced it beyond his reach, and he's aboard with an infield hit.
Well, that's the value of being able to have speed and be able to drag bunt, which Jose has been doing a little bit lately. He's been working on it, and there you go. That would have been a 5-3 on your scorecard. And we'll take a look at the Coors Light San Diego Padres defense. They're a good defensive ball club, and they're another pitcher out there who works quick. Boys are on their toes. Results. One air for it when he's been out there pitching.
Well, if you had Santana against Latos and you had Luis Castillo in the two-hole, you'd think about bunting in the first inning to try and get an early run and get Santana a lead. So how do you play it here with Pagan in the two-hole?
Well, I wouldn't bunt. I never liked the bunt early in the game, Gare. I like what Castillo does. You look at the defense there. I like Castillo taking pitches, let Jose steal, and then you want to put a bunt down, get him over to third. Fine, and then you got yourself a run.
What about with Pagan? You want to play hit and run here? You want to let Reyes steal?
Pagan's a little more problematic. He's a little more antsy at the plate, obviously, than Luis. And Jose, for some reason, it's always been a problem with Jose. Jose is not a guy that likes to steal quick and early in the count.
Especially with guys he hasn't seen.
Exactly, and particularly his first at bat.
I mean, the Mets faced Latos last year, but Reyes was hurt and didn't play. So it's his first look at him as Pagan taking all the way, and it's a strike, 1-1.
I don't think Pagan is that good of a hit and run guy for a guy that makes contact. I would be a little reluctant to hit and run with Angel.
Pagan 2 for 5 on Tuesday night, including a triple that almost left the ballpark to right field. Latos has given up only 2 stolen bases in 11 starts this year. In fact, there has not even been a stolen base attempt against Latos over his last 7 starts.
There you go. The Mets overtook the Padres last week in that department, the stolen base department.
Reyes has 14 to lead the ball club, tied for second in the league. And Latos paying him a lot of attention in the opening inning. A game like this, the way Santana's been pitching, the way Latos has pitched this year, 1 run can mean everything. And a fastball strike, 1-2 to Pagan. Matt Latos, just 22 years old.
Well, the Padres have played 21 one-run ball games. They're 12-9 in one-run games, and that's because of they're 12-9. They're pitching so fine.
And a pitch out. Reyes going nowhere. 2-2. It was funny after the Mets beat the Padres in a 1-run extra inning game on Tuesday night. One of the Padres was quoted as saying, "We didn't know how to react. We usually win those games." It's a good feeling to have when you expect to win close games. And that's why the Padres have performed so well this year. Their bullpen has been so good. On 2-2, Pagan takes inside, throw to first, and back safely, and that was called the third strike. And Pagan is down looking. Jim Reynolds, the home plate umpire, called this a strike.
Oh, it is a strike. Inside corner fastball, locked him up.
But where was the call? His right hand never went out.
I understand.
That was very odd. So that's the first out, and now Jason Bay, who is just 1 for his last 15 at a tough night on Tuesday night, went 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts. And Jason takes a strike.
Very frank interview in the paper this morning with Jason, talking about his struggles and how it's been a very odd season for him. He feels good for 3 days and then is back to square one. He just can't get it going.
Well, he's hitting .286, and the breaking ball hit out to right center. Tony Gwynn has a beat on it, and That's the second out, and Reyes back to first. I mean, you take 286 from Jason Bay for a full season, but
not
three homers and 24 RBIs through 58 games.
That's the production's not there. I don't care about the home runs. If he had the RBI on over 100 plus, it'd be fine. I don't care how you drive him in. But what alarmed me in that article most was that he said that he's been tinkering with his stance in game, from at bat to at bat, and you just can't. You got to stick with what got you to the dance, and just have faith that you're going to come out of it.
Well, Mike Davis had been struggling until his last at bat on Tuesday night when he crushed a walk-off home run that went some 450 feet past the second deck of the Pepsi porch out in right field. First walk-off home run of Davis's career, his 7th overall, and Latos showing a little better move, chasing Reyes back. Interesting. Here's your Radio Shack. What do you know? The last Met before Davis to hit a walk-off home run was Craig Brazell. That was against the Cubs in 2004. It was Brazell's only home run as a Met. I remember that. That was the last week in 2004 against the Cubs, and Victor Diaz had tied that game in the 9th against LaTroy Hawkins, and then Brazell won it in the 11th, a game that pretty much knocked the Cubs out of playoff contention that year.
Well, Ike got himself a nice little hanger the other night. Hit that ball a mile.
Interesting to see them overshifting the defense against Davis. We haven't seen that before. Here's the home run Tuesday.
Well, one too many splitters, and he knew he got it, and that was way out. Oh my goodness, a war cry.
Angel was nice enough to fill that towel with whipped cream rather than shaving cream, which is a much better feeling, and Ike was most appreciative.
Tastier too.
Yeah.
It's not on the diet, is it?
Well, he said the first time that he was pied this year with shaving cream, he said it got down his throat. It was rather nasty. So I think whipped cream is a very good touch. Oh, 2 to Davis, and he takes it high. I don't have any authority on this, but I bet Teresa back in the player's kitchen was probably responsible for substituting whipped cream for shaving cream. Reyes runs, and Davis fouls it back. So Reyes on the 10th pitch that Latos has thrown since he reached first base, finally felt comfortable enough to run.
And a 1-2 count. Good time to run. They pitched out on him last time, 1-2, prior batter when Bay was up.
Davis wastes it. Well, this was the first shaving cream facial that Ike Davis got.
Well, he's ready for a shave.
It's on Jackie Robinson night. Everybody was wearing 42. So Ike has been upgraded. Now, Latos has thrown 14 pitches in this inning and nearly as many throws to first base after Reyes reached on an infield hit.
Well, he's a big kid, boy. Strong kid. Nice crowd.
Reyes runs, the curveball swing and a miss. He struck him out. Good overhand curve by Latos to get Davis to end the inning. 2 strikeouts for Latos. And shaving cream. Casper, when did that become required? .com and vote for your favorite everyday All-Star who could represent the Mets and be honored at the 2010 All-Star Game in Anaheim, July 13th on Fox. To nominate, go to peopleallstars.com. Nick Hundley leads off in the second inning. Hundley 0 for 4 in the series opener, but he's been a hot hitter. 400 over his last 14 games. And Santana falls behind again 2-0. That's 5 batters, and 3 of the 5 Santana's been behind 2-0. And now 3-0. Santana, when he faced the Padres 8 days ago, walked 5 in 7 innings. He struggled through that game. Took him 123 pitches to get through 7 innings, but kept San Diego off the board. There's a strike, 3-1.
He struggled early with his control and then seemed to find his rhythm like all great pitchers. But it was a very unusual performance from him to see him struggle with the strike zone so early.
Jerry Hairston Jr. on deck. And Hundley bounces one to Reyes. The long throw to make. And in time to get Hundley. One away. Bud Black, former fine left-handed pitcher, now in his 4th year managing the Padres. After Bruce Bochy left to move up the coast and take over the Giants. And the Padres were not expected to be a contender this year. They were picked by most people to finish 4th or 5th in the National League West. But they've been sitting either at or near the top all season. Strike called to Hairston, 0-1.
Well, I played with Bud in Cleveland, and Bud started out his career in Kansas City, and there's the standings, as you can see right there. I told you I'd watch out for those Dodgers, Gary, way back in April. I just felt that they weren't playing good then, and I just think that they kind of are the team to beat in that division. I know you think Colorado is, and that's going to be a dogfight.
Well, my feeling has been all along that the Dodgers need to add pitching if they want to go the distance, but their pitching has performed well during this last 3-week stretch. Another chance for Reyes, and he guns down Jerry Hairston, 2 out.
Well, Buddy started out in Kansas City, and when I joined Cleveland the last year of my career, he was one of the starting pitchers there. He was one of my best friends on the team. Real easygoing, soft-spoken man.
Well, you left-handers hang around together.
I always had most of my friends were pitchers, believe it or not, starting pitchers. Don't ask me why.
Were most of them lefties?
No. No.
Because you don't really, I mean, left-handed pitchers kind of have a reputation for being, you know, a little offbeat.
Yes, they are. No question. They're goofy.
Buddy Black won 121 games during his major league career. Another ground ball for Santana, and Cora on the backhand throws on Chris Denorfia. 3 ground ball outs for Santana. 1-2-3 top of the second. Kane's comfort zone this afternoon. First game, I'll bet.
Cute little girl.
David Wright's been hot, leading off the home second inning. David, over the last 8 games, 15 for 29. That's a .517 clip. And he's got his average for the year up to 283. And maybe more to the point, David has now gone 4 straight games without striking out. First time this season that's happened. So the contact is there and the results have followed. And Latos misses away 2-1.
This right-hander is giving them a steady diet of breaking stuff and hard stuff in. Latos has an outstanding curveball.
Jeff Francoeur on deck, and then Alex Cora here in the home second. And another slider. And now Latos behind 3-1. Matt Latos came out of junior college, drafted by the Padres. It took them almost a full year to sign him right before the 2007 draft. And he has proven to be a big-time keeper. He made 10 starts with San Diego last year when he came up, but really hit his stride after a bit of a slow start this year. He had back-to-back starts in the middle of May, in which he allowed 2 hits over 8 innings in one game, and then threw a complete game 1-hit shutout against the Giants his next time out. David lifts one down the right field side. DeNorfia into the corner. And it's into the crowd.
And let's not forget that Latos is 22 years of age. He's a young kid, and boy, he's a power pitcher. You can see what the first 2 innings of pitching so far. He throws hard, has a real good over-the-top curveball, and a nice cutter.
Those 2 starts he made against Houston and San Francisco, he didn't walk about her, and he gave up 3 hits in the 2 starts combined. I mean, that's just incredible. Maybe not as incredible as Steven Strasburg striking at 14 and walking none in his big league debut, but Latos, as he walks David Wright, was only the 3rd man in the modern era of baseball, 3rd man since 1900 to pitch 8 innings, no more than 2 hits, no runs, and no walks in back-to-back starts. The other 2, Cy Young in 1905 and Billy Pierce in 1958. So that's how unusual what Latos did in those starts against Houston and San Francisco was.
Well, pitching is coming back in baseball, and I'm very happy about that.
There's the red-hot Francoeur, who fouls one off. Jeff has an 11-game hitting streak working, hitting .475 over those 11 games.
Well, it's your wake-up call.
Hello, Jim Reynolds.
Oh, man.
And Latos, who spent a lot of time with Reyes at first base, concentrating on the runner, makes his first pickoff throw to right. Angel Campos came up for the doubleheader today to sub for the home plate umpires in the alternate games. Francoeur drives one to right, but DeNorfia is there to grab it. So Francoeur continues to swing the bat well, continues to hit the ball hard the other way. Even his outs have been hard.
Well, all last year when the Mets picked him up, where was his success? It was in the opposite field, and he got away from that, got that real hot start, and then had that terrible slump where his average got almost into the Mendoza line, under the Mendoza line, and then he caught fire again.
So 1 out and 1 on. Now Alex Cora. Alex just 1 for his last 17. Hitting .207 for the year. And takes high for ball 1.
How about Strasburg, though, huh? I think he's ahead of Doc at the same age, but I think he has more of an accomplished curveball. Anybody, he throws 100 miles an hour, but to me, his curve is just off the charts.
I mean, you can dismiss all you want the Pirates lineup that he faced, but nobody has ever done in their major league debut what Strasburg did. No walks, 14 strikeouts in only 94 pitches.
You just hope that they ease him in. Now remember, he's just a young kid. He's not used to pitching once every 5th day. And he's pitched once every 6th day, and you don't want to have someone like him hurt his arm. But I tell you what, to me, he throws the changeup. I saw that the changeup, which is his 3rd pitch, doesn't use it too much, but he has a decent one.
Gave up a home run on the changeup.
But
all he gave up.
His curveball, oh my goodness.
Does it remind you at all of Kerry Wood when he first came up?
Yes. It's a different kind of breaking ball. Woods had more tilt. I mean, I shouldn't say tilt. Woods broke more on a flatter plane. His is more like an over the top curveball.
And Cora takes a strike. Thought it was high. Jim Reynolds calls him back.
And you watch on the instant replays Strasburg pitching, and all the guys with the great curveballs, Carlton, Don Sutton's. They have Latos has it. They all have great spin, but the outstanding ones, they get that extra. That ball just looked electric coming out of his hand on his breaking ball.
Better than what Doc had?
Yes, because Doc threw a slow curve in the beginning, if you recall. This kid's coming out of the chute throwing a hard curve.
And there's a strike, 3-2. More Darryl Kyle. That kind of curveball?
Yes, that's a good one. Blyleven. When Bert was younger, I know when I faced Bert, he came over. He was getting in the backside of his prime, and he had lost a little velocity on that curveball. But I have to say, it's like Blyleven.
3-2 to Cora. Right runs, and Cora drives one to right center, but Denorfia is there, and Wright has to hustle back to first. 2 out. You know who had a great curveball? I don't know if you saw him much. The relief pitcher for the Orioles, Greg Olson.
Yes.
Before he hurt his arm.
Yes, he did. He had a great curve. There's a lot of guys with great curves. I'll tell you, curveball is a great equalizer. It'll send a lot of hitters back into the streets looking for a job.
Here's Henry Blanco getting the first game start today. Rob Barajas would have caught last night, but he'll catch the nightcap tonight with Jonathan Neese on the mound. Jerry Manuel was saying today he likes to put Santana and Blanco together anytime he can. They had a great year together in Minnesota back in 2004. And Blanco's been hitting too. Over his last 13 starts, he's hitting .350.
What more can you ask when you're backup catcher? He's the best thrower, the best defensive catcher of the group. They both, Barajas and Blanco, call excellent games. They're very aggressive inside. That's what I love about them. But Blanco clearly has a great arm and can throw runners out.
Hasn't caught since last week when the Mets were in San Diego. There's the curveball from Latos. Because Henry had a bit of a neck problem. He had trouble turning his head. And that's why the Mets called up Omir Santos for a few days. But Henry's feeling better. Back in the lineup today. Latos ahead of him, 0-2. Right runs. Blanco almost throws his bat at the ball to foul it off.
A lot of nice articles praising the Mets in today's paper about their hustle, and we mentioned that here from the get-go when this club was playing poorly. And the one thing that was impressive was the fact that they run everything out, and they finally got recognized for that by the press today. Some glowing articles about the hustle and how the fans seem to take into this team.
No question. The fan base love for this team has increased, not necessarily because of wins and losses, but because of style of play. And part of that is personality infusion. You bring in guys like Jason Bay and Rob Barajas and Frank Core last year.
Absolutely.
I mean, that makes a difference. But I think also that a lot of credit goes to Jerry and his coaches for emphasizing during spring training this year that the fundamental lapses this team suffered through last year were just not going to be tolerated this year.
Exactly. And you look at a Jason Bay that comes to the ballpark every day and runs out routine ground balls hard to first base. That sets the example. I really feel he set the example because he came here and did not. It got off to a bad start. He still hasn't gotten on track. Okay, he's not happy with his 280, and we'll see if this pitch. Boy, that could have gone either way. Where's that pitch? If you're a hitter, you go, thank you very much.
One, two, a pitch out. Right's not going.
Second pitch out today from Latos. But to see Bay, who was mired in a slump, just consistently day in, day out, run everything hard, routine ground ball hard out to first base. I really feel that he set the tone here. I feel very strongly about that.
And another slider off the plate. So after getting ahead 2 strikes, Latos has gone 3-2. And I think that, you know, it's not solely one thing, but I think it's a combination of things that Bay brings to the table. Not just the consistency on the field, but the steadiness off the field. I think this team has had a great approach virtually every day. They haven't taken games off. Right runs, and Blanco fouls it away.
You know, I always felt, Gary, that this ballpark should have been a plus for this team, and it has become a plus. They have the best home record in baseball. This is, by any standard, a huge ballpark. In my time, this is a big ballpark. With the ballparks the way they are today and guys hitting home runs, let's say Philadelphia, Cincinnati, whatever, they come in here, it's a disadvantage for those teams coming in.
Right takes off, 3-2 to Blanco, and fouled again. Well, the Mets have certainly had their problems moving away from this park, and you know, their manager has theorized that guys try and get their numbers up when the Mets go on the road, and that's hurt them away from home.
Well, I think there's too much emphasis on home run today with the young players, with the players in today's game. It's, you know, I came from a team in St. Louis where, you know, we had a big ballpark and AstroTurf and a lot of speed, and we hit and ran and we scored runs.
Blanco hits one in the air to deep left. Back goes Hairston to the track, looking up, and it's out of here. Henry Blanco with a 2-run homer. His second home run of the year on the 10th pitch of the at-bat. And the Mets jump out to a 2-0 lead.
Fastball didn't get it away, up and too much plate. And that's pretty much the same place he hit his first home run. And he knew it. He didn't want to look. Well, I'll take a quick one. After all, this is a big ballpark.
Well, Latos is used to playing in big ballparks. This one's similar to Petco Park. With that home run hit by Henry Blanco, and every home run at Citi Field in 2010. Kinray's Home Runs for Charity program will donate $1,000 to the Mets Foundation. Kinray has donated $23,000 in 2010 to the Mets Foundation. So Santana, who has been run-starved of late, is staked to a 2-0 lead. His last start, the Mets got him 1 run, and that held up until 2 out and 2 strikes in the 9th. When David Eckstein got the tying hit off K-Rod, and then Adrian Gonzalez won the game with an 11th inning grand slam. 2 runs must feel like a Christmas gift. 1-2 to Santana. Johan has made 12 starts this year, and in 8 of the 12 he's allowed 1 run or less. Now you figure that's 8 wins right there. And yet he has only 4. Breaking ball pulled foul.
Well, let's just say it's going to make it tough for Mr. Santana to win 20 this year. That's unfortunate. Sometimes a pitcher just seems to be the one that is the tough luck pitcher. There's a 2 of the 5 right there. RA and Pelf.
Just missed, and it's 2-2 to Santana. So Latos now throwing 30 pitches in this inning and still trying to put it to bed. Jose Reyes on deck. And Santana down swinging at the fastball. 3rd strikeout for Latos ends the inning, but a leadoff walk to David Wright, and then Henry Blanco fighting back from an 0-2 hole. Got it to a full count and then got a fastball to hit. his second home run of the year has staked Santana to a 2-0 lead going to the third. $2-0 lead, and for the 14th year, the Prostate Cancer Foundation and Major League Baseball are teaming up to try and wipe out prostate cancer, and Michael Milken has spearheaded that drive for such a long time. Michael, welcome.
It's great to be here, and this is where it really started. Fred Wilpon and Jerry Reinsdorf 15 years ago sat down and tried to figure out how we could create awareness for prostate cancer and getting checked. And it turned into this home run challenge, which is the leading awareness program in the United States for prostate cancer today.
Tony Gwynn leading off in the third. Tell us about the program and how it's been going.
It's great. There's 60 selected games that ends on Father's Day, and people pledge money around the country for each home run hit during those 60 games. We're up to $10,500 a home run, and we really appreciate that home run.
So Henry Blanco
he just contributed
money to the cause.
He did, and we've raised $35 million from these home runs that have been hit, and we've had matches of 25-1. So we're over $800 million for prostate cancer.
Grounded to second base, and Cora's there to play it. Tell us where the money goes, Michael, that's being raised.
100% of the money goes to prostate cancer research, and probably as much as anywhere in the world, it goes right here in the New York area. You have great, just great research institutions, and this program and that research has resulted in a 50% drop in the deaths from prostate cancer since we started this program with Major League Baseball.
Wow. As Latos looking to push a bunt and fouls it off.
And you would tell men and what age group to start getting your annual checkup?
Definitely by 50, and if you've had anyone in your family, a father, a grandfather, uncle, first cousin, brother, 40, and if you're an African American, 40. African Americans have a much higher incidence and unfortunately a much higher death rate than almost any other group in the world today. And there's a lot of research going on. But our goal is by January 1st, 2016, to have eliminated prostate cancer as a cause of death and suffering. So we'll be all celebrating that day. But we've seen some phenomenal ball games over the last 14 years.
Latos trying to pop one, but he pops it up, and Reyes with the angle, and that's the second out. So how many games do you get to see during this period of time?
I'm going to see this year 14 games ending on Father's Day. Our record is we usually sometimes get 2 a day, so that if you really want baseball, you get to go to a couple different cities. The Mets have a doubleheader. that one doesn't count. You have to go to see different teams play from that standpoint. But, you know, Fred Wilpon in Major League Baseball has made just an unbelievable difference as relates to medical research in America and the outcome for men. With 1 in 2 men going to be diagnosed with cancer and 1 in 3 women, you know, it affects all of us. You know, they're not an exception, unfortunately, if you get cancer.
David Eckstein takes a strike. Well, it's some tremendous work that the Prostate Cancer Foundation has done. And is it too late for folks to pledge to help out the cause?
Not at all. You can go to PCF, stands for the Prostate Cancer Foundation.org. You can learn all about what we know about nutrition, which can reduce your chances of getting prostate cancer, early detection, and make a pledge from the Home Run Challenge. And we're looking for the Mets to hit a lot of home runs, particularly on Father's Day in Yankee Stadium.
Well, it's a good place to hit home runs.
That is true.
A little more homer-friendly than this ballpark.
Now, we'll be in San Diego on Monday. They are not the leading home run hitting team in the major leagues. That's Toronto. Toronto has actually hit more home runs than the Mets and San Diego combined. So they're off to a pretty fast start.
Yes, they are.
At least in the home run category.
With the most surprising home run hitter in baseball, Jose Bautista. Eckstein has a 2-out hit. The second hit off Santana.
Now, when we began the program, we used to send thank you letters to the pitchers, but we decided not to thank. That didn't go over as well as we would like. We told them, you know, they were really disappointed. They were frustrated. You can see how upset the San Diego pitcher was, but we wanted to know there was at least some good that came out of it. After a couple of years, Major League Baseball suggested us we ought to drop the thank you to the pitcher letter.
I'm surprised it took that long. Here's Chase Headley, who flied to center his first time. And he hits it hard. Reyes with a beautiful grab. And the inning is over. Welcome, Milken.
Thank you. Good health to you. And I'll be watching on Father's Day.
All right, continued success.
Thanks for all the great work you do for a great cause. 2-0 Mets as we go to the bottom of the third. Second inning, it started with a walk. Henry Blanco had a 2-run homer, and when the inning was over, Latos and his pitching coach Darren Balsley got into it a little bit.
Well, I just think they're not really getting into it. A little instruction here. I just think that Latos has his blood up, and he's a young kid, a little temperamental. It's just a little lesson here. There's no argument going on. What's interesting, after they talked, was watching Latos storm around the dugout.
Jose Reyes thinking about a bunt or a slug bunt, and he takes a strike. Reyes chopped one over the head of the third baseman Headley for an infield hit, his first time up.
And you can see right there, third baseman Headley in, and that clears up a big hole between short and third.
I noticed you just used the telestrator.
Yes.
Were you watching the game on Tuesday night?
No.
You didn't get to see what Ronnie did with the telestrator?
What did he do?
He figured out how to do a spot shadow.
He did a spot. Oh, the circle spotlight.
Do you know how to do that? Reyes pulls one foul.
Yes.
I mean, this isn't a test or anything.
Well, I can do right there.
Oh, very nice.
It's actually pretty cool. So we can do it on the shortstop. We can do it on the second baseman, and we can make a nose.
Ooh, looks like Mickey Mouse. Inside to it. Well, you have to put on his ears. Bob's impressed. 2-2 to Reyes. He gets a run off his thumbs and fouls it off. Well, now everybody knows that you have a new toy.
Yes. I'm reluctant to use it. I'll find a way to botch it.
Slapped to shortstop, and Jerry Hairston in front of it. Reyes retired, 1 out. First time today that Latos has retired the leadoff hitter in an inning. Here's our AT&T trivia question for today. Who are the only 3 pitchers to win the Major League Triple Crown? That's wins, ERA, and strikeouts since 1950.
Gotta be Koufax has got to be in there.
Here's Angel Pagan, who took a call third strike his first time up. Heck, it's been how long since a National League hitter won the Triple Crown?
That was Joe Medwick.
1937.
Joe Medwick. Joe Ducky. He was the minor league hitting instructor for the Cardinals when I was coming up through the chain.
Last Triple Crown winner in baseball was Carl Yastrzemski in 1967. The American League had back-to-back Triple Crown winners in 66, Frank Robinson, and 67, right, Yastrzemski. And those are the last 2. I mean, there's talk every year about Albert Pujols challenging for a Triple Crown. One of these years.
It's not an easy thing to do, obviously, and it is really quite an accomplishment. Well, I like this Latos. I like the fact that he throws fastballs up and in. He likes to bring that cheddar upstairs and inside the hitters. He likes to chew that gum, too.
He got Pagan looking his first time up. And he gets him swinging this time. 94 on the fastball. Hardest Latos has thrown today. That's 4 strikeouts for him.
He's an impressive young man. Pagan all tied up. Watch his fanny fly out. Oops, you're dead. And that was all because he pitched in that power pitching inside. Get a hitter worried in, boy, you got him.
So 2 out. Here's Jason Bay, who flying to center his first time up. Looking for his first hit in this series. Latos trying for a 1-2-3 inning. He has had the highest percentage of 1-2-3 innings in the National League this year. 47% of his innings have gone 1-2-3.
Oh, geez, good fastball. 96, knee-high outside corner.
He's just getting started. He was throwing 93 earlier in the game. Now he's really revving it up.
Curveball here.
Best curveball he's thrown so far was the one he struck out Ike Davis on in the first.
That was pretty wicked. Get most hitters. He's ready to go. Look, he's raring, ready to fire that ball. Fastball away.
Yeah, now behind on Bay, 3-1. Bay lifts one along the right field line. Denorfia over. And the side retired. So Latos with his first 1-2-3 inning of the day. Mets lead at 2-0 after 3. Let's go to Matt Cerrone from MetsBlog.com at the Verizon studio for a quick update on what the fans are thinking. Outing against the Padres, plus have the inside scoop on tonight's Game 2 matchup as they go beyond the back pages to bring you all the latest in New York sports on the next Daily News Live presented by Citi today at 5 on SNY. Johan Santana has now thrown 18 consecutive scoreless innings. His last 5 starts, he's 1-0 with a 0.74 ERA. That's just phenomenal that you can allow that few runs and have only 1 win in 5 starts. Adrian Gonzalez has one of the 2 hits for the Padres today. He blooped a single to left with 2 out in the first. And a fastball let her high for a strike.
And there's that defense again. Not the triangle. Oops, I've still got it on spotlight. Sorry, folks. Let me get out of this.
It's the moving spotlight.
There you go.
It's almost like a searchlight.
I've got to clear it off there, so excuse me. But definitely the shift on the right side of the infield.
And I think significantly you don't see this very much. The outfield going the other way.
Yes. That's because his ability to take the ball right to left field. So obviously, good fastball. Threw it by him.
Gonzalez has said recently that he has been hitting the ball to left field for power since he was a kid. You know, he was never a pull hitter, even playing Little League growing up.
When he came up, he reminded me a lot of the young Rafael Palmeiro when he came up with the Cubs. And Palmeiro went the other way.
Right. And then became a pull hitter later in his career. And you see that he's got more hits to left field than he does to right field. That's very unusual for a guy who hits as many home runs as Gonzalez does.
And playing in a big ballpark in San Diego.
Well, in many ways, he's the perfect hitter for that ballpark. Of course, if he played at Citizens Bank Park, how many more home runs would he have? He had those 2 home runs against the Phillies the last game they played there on Monday, and they both went into the flower bed or just beyond it in left field. Balls that wouldn't go out of this park or out of Petco.
I'd like to have played 81 games in Citizens Bank Park. Some of those line drives the opposite field would have been out because they got that fence that comes straight across at a right angle from the foul line. There's no bend to it, so it's a real short gap there.
Fastball just off the plate, 2-2.
And Adrian, too, is one of the great eyes at the plate. He has a good knowledge of the strike zone, thus his 45 walks.
Well, also teams don't want to pitch to him.
Of course.
I mean, he's the one guy who can beat you in that lineup.
But by the same token, you can become antsy and start swinging at bad pitches. I mean, Barry Bonds had to put up with that and was remarkable with his patience. So it's all about you know, Gonzalez in that class of being patient at the plate and not trying to do too much and start swinging at bad pitches.
This will be the 8th pitch of the at-bat from Santana to Gonzalez. And the changeup line into center field, a base hit.
Boy, he can hit. Flat hit.
Well, Santana threw the kitchen sink at him. And Gonzalez is 2 for 2.
Well, this is supposed to be a changeup away, and it's on the other side of the plate. Right there, inner half. That's just good hitting right there. Good 2-strike hitting. Santana knew he made a boo-boo.
So the Padres have the leadoff man on for the first time, and now Scott Hairston, who's flying to right his first time up, looking for his first hit in this series. The Padres had just 1 run and 6 hits in 11 innings on Tuesday night. Scott Hairston, the younger of the 2 Hairston brothers, 3rd generation major leaguers. Their grandfather Sam and their dad Jerry both played in the big leagues. Changeup down, and Santana behind 2-0.
I played against Jerry Hairston Sr. He was with the White Sox chain when I was in Tulsa. He played for it at Des Moines. He was always up and down with the White Sox.
More of a utility guy during his
right. He knew how to play the game. It was a good player.
I think in many ways Jerry Jr. probably is more like his dad as a player than Scott is. Scott's a little more powerful.
I played against Tony La Russa when I was 19 years old in AAA. How about that?
Tony did not have a very successful playing career.
He was the first baseman for the Wichita Arrows, and that was not bow and arrows. It was airplane arrows.
AERO.
Yes. I actually liked Wichita. Wichita was a fun town. I had a good time there.
Hairston gets a hold of one, but yanks it foul. Oh, and made it to the upper deck.
Upper deck, much like that bomb he hit in San Diego.
Well, he mentioned earlier he's got power.
He's quick inside.
All right, where did you play that you didn't have a good time? I mean, if you had a good time in Wichita, where did you ever play that you didn't have a good time?
You put me on the spot.
There's probably, the answer is probably nowhere, right? You probably found a good time wherever you went.
When you're 19 years old and you see new cities for the first time, you always find spots to go.
And that just misses ball 4, so Santana issues his first walk of the day. And the Padres have 2 men on. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, actually, Oklahoma City wasn't a great town, but we stayed at a Holiday Inn in Oklahoma City. And they had, right out of the Urban Cowboy, they had one of those, it was a cowboy bar. And they had the Bronco Bull with the horse in there. Yes, it was right out of Urban Cowboy.
Really,
a lot of cowboys in there with boots on, and boy, I just went in there and had myself a beer and just minded my own business.
Did you ride the bull?
No, of course not.
Even on like low speed?
No, I would not get on that bull. I had to play baseball. I don't want to get hurt.
Here's Nick Hundley, who grounded to short his first time. Santana in need of a double play ball, 1st and 2nd, and nobody out. And Hundley fouls it off.
A lot of great experiences in the minor leagues when you don't know any better. The Texas League had some dreadful cities. No offense to Texas. My mom's from Beaumont. So
look at what Santana's done with runners in scoring position. 0 for their last 19. Until you throw 18 consecutive scoreless innings.
Well, he gets better. Like any great pitcher, they get better when you find out who's got it or not when the men are on base. Who steps forward and grabs the bull by the horns, so to speak.
No horns on a mechanical bull. 0-2 to Hundley, who by contrast is hitting .361 with runners in scoring position this year. That's for the career of Santana.
That's pretty outstanding, isn't it? All the way up and down the line.
That's how you win 126 games and lose only 62. Now the 0-2 to Hundley, And the changeup down and away.
He's telling himself to stay back. Right-hand hitter with that changeup, that outstanding changeup of Santana's. You really, with 2 strikes, got to really shorten up, choke up, and just go up the middle.
One, two, fouled away. Right where he'd like his pitch count to be. Maybe a shade higher than he'd like. 123 pitches in 7 innings his last start, but remember, he's pitching on the 8th day, so he's had 3 extra days of rest. Now the 1-2 inside with the fastball.
Well, with this split doubleheader, the Pods got to play tomorrow night in San Diego. They're going to have a long flight home. There's Dan Wortham, pitching coach. Jonathan Neese in the nightcap.
Padres go home to play the Mariners over the weekend, which sounds like an easy touch, right? But in 2 of the 3 games this weekend, they have to face Cliff Lee and Felix Hernandez. So no matter how bad Seattle's record is, those 2 guys can shut you out.
A lot of talk about Cliff Lee getting moved. And I think if that happens, it'll happen later in the season.
Big pitch here for Santana. 3-2, nobody out with 2 aboard. And Hundley takes it low, ball 4, and the bases are loaded. Well, Santana had him 0-2, and he loses Hundley to a walk. Back-to-back walks given up by Santana. That'll send Dan Wortham out to the mound. And so a crisis for Santana, working with a 2-0 lead in the 4th. Bases loaded, nobody out.
Just wonder if there's a little bit of an alteration in the delivery. I've been watching and not quite sure. I'll keep an eye on it, but maybe just a slight tip off and a change of motion in Santana's changeup. Those right-hand hitters were taking that changeup, with great balance on when they're behind the count. You shouldn't be like that. And we're just wondering if it's just he's tipping it.
New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Bob's Discount Furniture. More quality, more choices, more value. Buy in-store or online at mybobs.com. Hello, Bob.
Looks like the lineup card right there. That's Buddy. Mr. Black, manager.
Jerry Hairston up with the bases loaded. Hairston bounced out to short his first time up. Mets have the infield back looking for 2. And a check swing foul ball. Hairston has taken over as the everyday shortstop for the Padres. Has Gonzalez at 3rd, his brother Scott at 2nd, and Hundley at 1st.
The Mets could use a double play right here.
And Hairston hits one to left center. That'll get a run in. Gonzalez tagging at 3rd. Pagan's throw will go toward 3rd. And will keep Scott Hairston at 2nd. Sacrifice fly for Jerry Hairston cuts the Met lead to 2-1 and ends Santana's scoreless streak at 18 consecutive innings.
Well, he just missed this pitch, Gare. This was a fastball that had too much plate. He had a good cut on that. Just got under it. Wants it away right down the pipe.
Pagan's fundamentals in the outfield have been terrific this year.
He can cover it out there.
Has momentum going in exactly the right direction, making sure that Scott Hairston couldn't take another run to 3rd. Now Cora broke to the bag as that pitch was thrown as Denorfia takes ball 1.
Pitchers always get zoned out. Not all of them, but the great majority of them. When they're they're in a tough inning, they can miss a pickoff sign with the best of them.
Kristen Orphy, who grew up not far away in Southington, Connecticut, pulls one to third. David Wright with a nice pickup. Cora with a tough turn, and he turns it over. 5-4-3 double play, and limits the damage in the fourth inning. David making like a matador with a beautiful grab, and then Cora turns it over.
Double play turn by David Wright. The Mets still lead the Padres as we welcome you back to Citi Field. And it's been 1,271 minor league games for Jesus Feliciano, who is still waiting to play in his first major league game. And he told me that, you know what, if I waited 13 years, another couple days to get in a game is not going to bother me, so I'll be patient and wait my chance. But he revealed to us yesterday that certainly thoughts of retirement were on his mind last year, and then, of course, this year flirting with hitting 400 and really wondering if he was ever going to get that call. But it goes back even a year ago, because after being in this game for so long and never getting that chance, as Ike Davis leads it off here for the Mets, he actually was seriously considering retiring from the game. But Pedro Feliciano, good friends with him, said don't do it. And he had a long conversation about the reasons why to keep playing. It keeps sticking out, and obviously now he's very glad he did. I mean, you want to talk about a guy who is thankful about being here. Just spent a couple minutes with Jesus Feliciano, and it's just incredible. A guy who's just so happy to be here, but still waiting for that first major league at bat. Back to you.
Well, who knows? Maybe it'll come by the end of this long day of baseball. But it's quite a study in perseverance. 13 years in the minor leagues. I mean, you spent how long in the minor leagues, Keith?
I spent 2.5.
I mean, I was there 3 years as a broadcaster, and I have to tell you, 3, 4, 5 years, that's a lot of time to spend. 13 years to me is incomprehensible for a guy to wait to make it.
And usually those guys, they're married and got kids, and they're playing in one league here, and they get traded there, and there's a lot of family moving around. It's a lot more than just the player himself.
Well, this was a step forward year for Jesus Feliciano, hitting .385 in AAA. Really earned the call up. Good breaking ball by Latos, and it's 2-2 to Davis.
And there's the curveball right there. He struck him out with the first time up. Ike's been kind of fishing, a little bit fishing for the bad breaking ball of late. Down and in. Tough pitch to lay off always.
He sure liked Edward Mujica's splitter on Tuesday night.
The splitter that sat there on a tee. He launched it.
Bouncing ball. Hairston coming in. And throws out Davis, one away.
You know, guys, you talk about Feliciano, you talk about guys who, you know, think about some of the players on this Mets team. You had Feliciano, his story, contemplating retirement and was ready to quit baseball a year ago. Albert DeSantis talked openly that he was ready to retire. Now he's the Mets setup man. How about Fernando Tatis? I mean, 2 years ago, he was out of baseball. He needed money to help rebuild a church in his county. He came back to the game. I mean, so many stories like this on this team of guys that, you know, maybe shouldn't be here, maybe you're just surprised to be here, but I guess that's the reason why for a guy like Feliciano you do keep on playing, because maybe that chance is indeed out there.
Well, hunger is a very important quality in any endeavor, but particularly in a sport where you play every day and where it can mentally drain you. And if you stay hungry and you keep trying to work toward your goal every day, even if it takes as long as it's taken Jesus Feliciano, that's a great quality, and it can translate into a lot of success.
I think it's in any walk of life. Perseverance. It's in business. It's whatever if we want to excel in. But it's very rewarding when you put the time in and you appreciate it more. That's for sure.
David Wright walked and scored his first time up. And Latos gets a call on the outside corner, 2-2.
Tell you what, I'm impressed with this young man, Latos.
Mets saw him last year. He pitched 6 terrific innings against them in August of last year at Petco Park. The only run the Mets scored against him in that game was a home run by, of all people, Alex Cora. Three-two to right, and he struck him out with a high fastball. That's 5 strikeouts for Latos, and he's now retired 6 in a row since the Blanco home run.
Fastball up and away. David, low ball hitter.
So here's Frank Cora, who lined out to right his first time up. Started the day with an 11-game hitting streak. And Frank Cora chases the slider, and it's 0-2.
I wonder what that tattoo signifies on that glove hand on the forearm.
He's got a number of them there. Let's see.
Oh, it's a baseball stitching. Now there's a love of a game. How about that?
It's wearing your love on your sleeve.
Frankenstein's monster.
Strike 3 called. Frank Cora down looking. 6 strikeouts for Latos, who's retired 7 straight. 4 in the books. 2-1 New York. Field this season thanks to the quality and skill of New York City union carpenters and contractors. Let's go to Kevin to find out more.
You know, Gary, I have a riddle for you. How many guys does it take to move an apple? That would be 6 when it was the old Mets home run apple. Actually, well, 6 and a 2-ton crane. One of the new additions to Citi Field is the apple which came over from Shea, which was initially last year behind the Mets bullpen. So you had to come in off of 126th Street to see it. That's where it was last year. But now, right in front of Citi Field, in front of the Jackie Robinson Rotunda, when you come off the 7 train. So it kind of greets you. It's a nice little touch when you come to the ballpark. That home run apple obviously was a huge deal with fans. They spoke. Mets listened. Originally put into Shea in 1981. It weighed 2,100 pounds. And I have to tell you guys, I'll be honest, at the end of the Shea existence, it kind of felt like I could put my finger through it. The paper mache was kind of getting a little dicey, so they gave it a little refurbishing. But to give you an idea, I mean, that apple's obviously pretty big. So the new apple is more than double. The new apple is nearly 5,000 pounds. So they went with the girth for the new edition. Guys, back to you.
Nice thing about the apple out of the plaza there is you don't have to hit a home run to see it. It's out all the time. This apple, on the other hand, you need a home run.
It kind of teases you.
Because you can see the stem.
And the leaf. Son of a pretty fair hitter, huh?
Tony Gwynn Jr. grounded out his first time up, and ball 4. So Santana, who walked 2 in the 4th inning to put himself in trouble, walks the leadoff hitter in the 5th inning. And now he's got the pitcher Latos, who will try and bunt that tying run over to second. Latos, not a bad hitter, 4 hits in 20 at bats this year.
No, he's got a very good swing for a pitcher. And you see the corners are going to be in. David's going to be in aggressive, and the first baseman has to hold a runner on, so he'll be coming in a little bit behind, charging hard.
At Latos, who stands 6'6", it's a big strike zone. Tony Gwynn speed at first. He has 9 steals this year. Santana about to throw his 75th pitch of the afternoon.
The Cora creeping in. That's interesting.
He is more aggressive in doing that than any second baseman I've seen in a long time.
And I think that kind of sets up a pickoff, and that's why he's doing that. What's dangerous about that move is that you are leaving open a second base right there. When he creeps in and breaks towards first base, that whole right side of the infield opens up.
So you're saying a pickoff for the catcher with Davis charging before it sneaks in behind?
Right. You don't want to just give up too much of the field. Now that's just, to me, it's even though the pitcher is committed to bunt, he can bring it back and do a little butcher boy. It's a little bit dangerous, and you don't want to ever open up the right side of the infield, Gary, with the runner on first, because a ground ball through the right side of the infield is an automatic first and third situation, especially with a guy with the speed of Gwynn.
The only negating factor there is that you have Frank Cora and his arm playing so shallow. And not too many people run on him. 1-2 to Latos, still showing bunt. And he bunts it foul for strike 3. So Latos angry at himself. First strikeout of the afternoon for Santana. And it comes on a fouled third strike bunt. Become a permanent part of Citi Field and order your Citi Field Fan Walk Amazing Moments brick today. The last chance to purchase your brick for the 2010 installation is tomorrow. Get to Mets.com/fanwalk. Get your brick out there near the home run apple out in the plaza outside the Jackie Robinson Rotunda.
Did you get a brick?
I did.
So you'll be there forever.
As long as there's a plaza, my brick will be there. David Eckstein is 1 for 2. Actually, my brick quotes your former teammate, Joaquin Andujar.
Oh, You never know.
One word sums up baseball. You never know.
You never know.
Eckstein made a bid for a home run leading off the ball game. Hit one right to the wall in left field that Jason Bay caught. And he singled to left with 2 out in the 3rd.
Eckstein still has that baby face, and he is a salted, seasoned veteran. 35 years old, still looks like he's 21.
Still acting the pest. World Series MVP for the Cardinals in 2006. Also owns a World Series ring with the Angels in 2002.
He's what you call a winner.
Kid who was not even allowed to walk on at the University of Florida as a freshman. But he got the keys to the batting cage, spent hour after hour there, and eventually became a star at Florida.
And Gary, if you go around to visit the different teams that come in, the major league teams that come in here, David Eckstein by far spends the most time on the clubhouse floor of anybody I've ever seen. He is stretching every moment of the pregame that he possibly can.
I remember the first time I ever saw David Eckstein play shortstop. I thought, they've got to be kidding, right? There's no way this guy can play shortstop. He doesn't have the arm to reach first base.
It was always the arm.
And yet somehow he always gets it over there and gets his man, now playing second base.
Well, Ozzie Smith didn't have a great arm. Ozzie Smith had a great release. Ozzie Smith was so acrobatic and agile and had such great footwork. He always knew how hard to throw it to first base and just get the runner out by half step.
Some guys with great arms like to do that too, just to tease you. Remember Louis Aparicio was like that. Always get you by half a step. There's a strike. 2-2 to Eckstein. It was news here on Tuesday night in the 8th inning against Mike Pelfrey. David Eckstein actually struck out. It's only happened 8 times this year.
Kudos for Pelf.
217 at bats, 8 strikeouts. On 2-2. Eckstein watches the changeup blown away and a full count.
I got to think they'll put Gwynn in motion here. You said it. Only 8 strikeouts for Eckstein.
Chase Headley on deck. Well, Santana has struck out only 1 today. He certainly has not been overpowering. Gwynn runs. Eckstein lines one down the left field line. That could tie up the game. Gwynn heads to third. He's being waved home by Glenn Hoffman. And no relay throw. It's an RBI double for Eckstein. And the Padres have gotten even at 2.
Well, control problems have hindered Santana here last inning. He walked 2 batters, load the bases, and got away with 1 run. And here got the count to full after walking Gwynn. And Gwynn can fly. He can run better than his daddy.
So Eckstein's 17th double of the year gets the Padres even. The 4th hit off Santana. Here's your IOTV pitch differential.
Well, meant to be away, and that's about the same pitch the first at bat, Gary, where he almost hit the home run down and in. Missed on the opposite side of the plate.
So now Chase Headley, and a good changeup by Santana to start him off. Headley is flying to center and lined out to short. A nice play by Reyes to end the 3rd. So the Mets finally got Santana a couple of runs, but Johan allowed a run in the 4th, and now the Padres have gotten even in the 5th. Santana staying off speed to Headley and gets ahead 0-2.
Well, like all great changeup pitchers, it's like when the shark smells blood. It's just when they see a guy that's going to swing at that changeup, that's all they're going to get.
Adrian Gonzalez on deck. popped up, and Reyes trailing out, gives way to Bay, and that's the second out.
So now has a very interesting at bat here with Adrian Gonzalez coming up. He's 2 for 2 off of Santana. He's very interested to see how Santana goes after him.
Would you consider walking him?
No, I would not.
Well, Matt Latos trailed this game 2-0. Now his team has gotten him even. He's hoping Adrian Gonzalez can get him a lead. Gonzalez blooped a single to left, and then after a long at bat lined a single to center and scored a run in the fourth. Go ahead run at second with 2 out.
Reyes up the middle, not so much the big shift here.
And a fastball line, base hit. Around third, Eckstein heading home, and the Padres grab the lead. Adrian Gonzalez with his 3rd hit of the afternoon drives in his 40th run of the year, and San Diego's up 3-2.
Well, I tell you what, I still would have pitched to him. This is just good hitting. That's a fastball in, and boy, he just turns on it. That ball ran in on his hands. You know, you just got to tip your hat here, and I agree. When you get an RBI situation, Gary, it's first ball, fastball hitting. Don't let a pitcher like Santana monkey around with you, get ahead and have all this stuff he can throw at you. You get a first ball, fastball, cover it.
3 hits for Gonzalez, 1 to left, 1 to center, and 1 to right. And the Padres have taken a 3-2 lead. Now Scott Hairston is flied out and walked 0 for 1. The way Matt Latos has looked since giving up the home run to Henry Blanco, the Mets are going to have a tough fight trying to come back in this game. Hairston pulls one down to third, right behind the bag. Makes the long throw on target to end the inning. But the Padres cash 2 to go in front. Eckstein and Gonzalez with RBI hits. 3-2 San Diego. But it's a nice, comfortable afternoon. Temperature in the 70s. Beautiful day to take in a ball game. 4-2. Alex Cora leads off the home fifth. Mets trailing for the first time today, and Matt Latos pours one over. Cora flied to right his first time up. Mets got their 2 runs on a Henry Blanco home run in the second inning. Since then, Latos has retired 7 in a row and struck out 4 of the 7. And Cora down to the count 0-2. It'll be Cora, then Blanco and Santana to bat for the Mets in the 5th. And in there for a call, strike 3. Alex looks at 3 pitches and walks away. 7 strikeouts for Latos.
That's the fastball and in. That's what he loves to do with 2 strikes. Latos. Just have a little plate. No, right on the corner. Good pitch. Very impressive young man.
Well, here's Blanco, who had a tremendous at bat in the 2nd inning. Fell behind 0-2, worked a full count, fouled off a few, and on the 10th pitch of the at bat, took Latos deep for Blanco's 2nd home run of the year. And the curveball sits high, 1-1. Henry's had just 50 at bats this year. Now hitting an even 300. There's another breaking ball for a strike.
Well, here's the bomb right here, your IOTV pitch differential, and you can see that is right down the pipe and a little above the belt. And Henry is a major high ball hitter.
Goes down swinging at the breaking ball. So Latos with back-to-back strikeouts to start the 5th. That's 8 for Latos, just 1 shy of his career high.
He is impressive. We got an outstanding breaking ball. Mixes his pitches up well.
So Santana will bat. Johan struck out his first time up. Well, Latos has struck out the last 4 batters to face him. You know, we were talking about Strasburg earlier. Probably the most impressive thing about that outing was that he struck out the last 7.
Yep.
Popped up, shallow left. Who knows if they had left him in? Could have challenged Tom Seaver's record of 10 in a row. Well, Latos has retired 10 in a row in this game, and he's got a 3-2 late after 5. Blanco's 2-run homer in the 2nd inning put the Mets in front, but they haven't had a base runner since, and the Padres rallying for a run in the 4th and 2 in the 5th, thanks in part to some control issues for Johan Santana, who's walked 3 in the last 2 innings and now finds himself behind 3-2. Nick Hundley leads off in the 6th and takes ball 1. Hundley has bounced to short and walked 0 for 1. Nick's dad has been a career college football coach.
UCLA.
Assistant at UCLA. Yeah. Yep. He was at Washington. He was at Texas El Paso. And you would have figured Nick would have followed in his footsteps, but he quit football in high school to concentrate on baseball. Seems like a good decision now.
Why would you want to get banged up?
If you have the choice.
Yes. And there's no guarantees.
Line center field, base hit. Pagan does nicely to cut it off. And so Hundley has his first hit in this series. And for the third straight inning, the Padres have the leadoff man on. Time to check with Chris Carlin. He's standing by for a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. Dave Bush pitching from Milwaukee, back after yet another health scare. Excuse me, that's Doug Davis who had the health scare. My mistake.
You very seldom make mistakes, Scott.
Well, those Milwaukee pitchers, they're confusing.
Yes, they are.
Mostly to Milwaukee. Jerry Hairston Jr. gets under one to left field. And Bay has it for the first out. Back to first goes Hundley. 1 out and 1 on.
Well, good cut on that fastball right there, too. Got under that one. That's 2 in a row for him. That he just got under the ball.
Here's Kristen Orfia. Grounded out in the second, then had a hard shot that David Wright scooped up and turned into a double play in the fourth. Runner goes, grounded to Cora, right on the baseline to make the tag on Hundley, and he turns the double play. And Hundley was running, but Cora had enough time to make the tag and turn the 4-4-3 double play to get Santana through the sixth. Reyes, Pagan, and Bay to try and fight the Mets back from down one. Reyes has one of the 2 hits for the Mets today, an infield single in the first. The only other hit, a 2-run homer by Henry Blanco in the second. And Latos has retired 10 in a row since then.
Well, 3 of the first 5 innings, he struck out 2 batters, Latos, and he's got 8 for the day. Outstanding curveball, good fastball, and mixes his pitches well.
Well, if you remember, after the inning in which he gave up the Blanco home run, Latos went back in the dugout, and he and Darren Balsley had a rather animated conversation about what Balsley felt he was doing wrong, and whatever it was, he's worked it out. Tony Gwynn Jr. puts away the fly ball by Reyes for the first out.
Well, he's found a rhythm, and from the third inning on, it's been 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Now that's coaching.
That is 10 in a row. That's what that is. Bottle it.
Well, Pagan has struck out twice, looking in the first, swinging in the third. Latos up to 87 pitches with 1 out in the 6th. With most teams, you figure, okay, we'll get the starter out of there, get him up to 100 or whatever pitches, and we'll get into that bullpen and we'll beat them up. It's hard to think that way against San Diego, as good as their bullpen has been.
One of the best pitching staff in the National League. They come into the game with an ERA, team ERA below 3. And that's saying something.
Well, and that's also without what many people consider to be their best veteran pitcher not having pitched this year.
Chris Young.
And Chris Young may be out for the season. 2-1 to Pagan. But the guys who have been in that rotation have been more than adequate.
Well, Garland's been the big surprise. Garland's just having a superb year.
And we'll see Garland in the game tonight. Garland among all those free agent pitchers who were out there last winter, all of whom the Mets passed on, he's really the only one who's having a terrific year. Behind 3-1, Latos throws the high fastball, and Pagan fouls it off.
Pagan's always got to be careful. Watch his front shoulder. He flies out, and he's told me that, and it's true. He tends, when he's swinging good, he really tucks that front shoulder and drives right at the pitcher. When he starts going bad, he flies that front shoulder out too quick.
3-2. Foul down the left field side, out of play. A little rain falling now at Citi Field.
We don't need that.
It's very light. Some came prepared.
We need this game to finish on schedule.
Expeditiously. Well,
yes.
The most important thing that has to happen is this game has to end in time for you to be able to take a nap before the night game.
And where are you going to sneak off to?
Wherever I can put my head down.
I'm going to look for a couch somewhere. There's a back on the back foot. See, a little bit of a flying of the open of the shoulder, and it's almost like golf. If you fly open too quickly, don't tuck that shoulder, you're going to slice. Well, same thing in baseball.
8th pitch of the at-bat to Pagan, and he floats one out to short, and Hairston didn't have to jump for it. He was poised to leave his feet and then realized it was going to come right to him.
Well, to jump or not to jump? That is the question.
If he jumped, it would have hit him in the midsection. So 2 out. Here's Jason Bay. 12 in a row retired by Latos. Bay is 0 for 2. And he chases the slider, 0-1. Bay is flying to center, flying to right. Now 0 for 7 in this series. And 1 for his last 17. Jason fouls it away. 0-2.
Well, you can tell that Jason is not comfortable. His last 2 at-bats, he has been set up to go to right field. There he is driving back on that back foot. And he's just not getting the barrel through. And he did say in that interview he's been tardy. Oh, boy. And he's not picking that curveball up either. He jumped at that one. It's a funny game.
A couple of weeks ago, Bay had 7 straight hits. Now struggling again. Lifts this one to center, and Gwynn settled right under it. So Latos hangs up another 1-2-3 inning. He's now retired 13 Mets in a row. We've played 6 in the day after the doubleheader. 3-2 Padres.
Padres against Johan Santana. Padres with a 3-2 edge. Squares the bunt, gets out a good one, and Blanco has no play. It's time now, guys, for the live Verizon Ask the Booth, and Kevin from Jersey is here to ask a question. Kev? Keith, this one's for you. When you're a player on the Mets team, when you have a pitcher like Johan Santana that doesn't get big-time run support, how cognizant are you of that?
You're very cognizant of it. You feel badly. I think the team does collectively feels badly. There's always seems to be one pitcher you don't score runs for, and maybe you try harder to score him runs, and therefore you compound the problem. You can't put your finger on it, Kev. It's just one of those things, and it could change next year. It could change the second half of the season. And, Santana can get a whole bucketfuls of runs. But offensively, yes, you're aware that you're not scoring runs for that particular pitcher.
Meanwhile, a huge development in this game. Bud Black is pinch hitting for Matt Latos with Lance Zawatsky. Latos has retired 13 in a row. He's struck out 8. He's thrown 99 pitches, and he's out of the game.
And he's smiling.
Well, as I said before, you don't gain a lot if you're the Mets from getting into the San Diego bullpen, but on this day, I think you're thrilled to get Matt Latos out of the game.
Well, it's obviously all about the Gregerson going in there. It's all about, they're bunting with this guy, the pinch hitter, so it's all about a pitch count here.
So Latos at 22 years of age, being pulled after 99 pitches. You see his pitching line there. Gave up an infield hit to Reyes, gave up a leadoff walk to David Wright in the second, and a home run to Henry Blanco, and then nothing else. Henry Mejia and Pedro Feliciano up in the Mets bullpen. Lance Zawatsky, the pinch hitter, lays off and takes a strike, and now it's 0-2. Zawatsky appeared as a pinch hitter in the opening game of the series and hit a double down the left field line.
What did Al just do? Al, did you knock the stool over?
He's dropping stuff.
Oh, hard number 2 cameraman, I tell you.
Ground ball to third, might be 2. Wright gets the out at second. Cora with the turn, double play. Mets turn their third double play of the afternoon.
David Nice keeping the glove down. Good feed. Cora makes a nice turn there. Nice pivot there in that double double play always gets a nice favorable response from the competitive Santana.
Cora's had a fine day making turns on that double play. Here's Eckstein, who's had a good day, 2 for 3, including a run scoring double that tied the game in the 5th. Then came home with the lead run on Adrian Gonzalez's base hit.
I just don't think you pull your pitcher out there with 13 in a row. I know we're in a different era. There's 100 pitches for Santana now, but gosh almighty, the guy's out there just in complete control, Garrett.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, if ever you're going to throw him out there for at least one more inning, you'd think this would be the day. Next time pulls one foul and it's 1-2.
I mean, you got a double header. You don't know what's going to happen in the second game. Your starter could get knocked out early. You got a guy out there cruising. You saved your bullpen for the first game.
Well, Latos' high this year is 107 pitches. That was in his 8 shutout innings in Houston. Then he threw 106 his next start in a complete game 1-hitter against the Giants. So clearly they're trying to keep his numbers down, and today pulled after 99.
22 years old.
2-2 to Eckstein, low and inside, and another full count for Santana.
I think I'd rather be in control of my own destiny if I had a 1-run lead. I know Ronnie has said it ad nauseum also. Let me win or lose it.
3-2 to Eckstein, pulled foul. Eckstein's been in pull mode all day. Hit the fly ball to the wall in left field back in the 1st, pulled his base hit through the hole in the 3rd, and then doubled down the left field line in the 5th. Eckstein had been 0 for 12 against Santana before his 2 hits today. And this time he draws a walk. That's walk number 4 issued by Santana. Is that Rick Waits out of the Mets bullpen? Rick, who works as a pitching coach in the Mets farm system.
I wasn't looking at the monitor.
There he is.
Yeah, it is Rick.
I didn't know Rick was with the ball club right now. Nice to have him around. Great guy to talk pitching with.
Pretty fair pitcher in his day. With the Cleveland Indians, left-hander. He has been with the Mets forever, has he not?
Does a great job in the Mets minor league system, working with the pitchers and working out in the bullpen today. Here's Chase Headley, who's 0 for 3. 2 fly balls and a line drive to short. And he hits one out to right field, chasing Frank Cora back. It's over his head and bouncing into the Mo zone. Eckstein heads for third. He's being waved home. Cora's relay throw to the plate is up the line. Eckstein scores on a double by Chase Headley, and the Padres now lead it 4-2. Well, Eckstein right in the middle of everything again. A 2-out walk by Santana, and Headley brings Eckstein around.
And once again, the walks have hurt Santana here. Fastball right down the pipe. And this surprised Francoeur. And the difference in this play, watch the carom off the Modell sign. Kind of hits and gets stuck there. And Francoeur had to go get it. And that's a precious second right there. Perfect relay. There's your difference in the run scoring. Just a funny carom off the bottom, just under the lip there.
Well, that's going to be all for Johan Santana. 4 runs and 8 hits, 4 walks today, and the walks have really hurt Johan. They have figured in each of the scoring innings for the Padres. And so with Adrian Gonzalez coming up, Jerry will go to Pedro Feliciano. The call to the bullpen brought to you by Lincoln Mercury. he throws a slider off the plate for ball 1. Well, not Johan Santana's best day by any means, given a 2-0 lead and leaves trailing 4-2.
Well, there's Pedro, 35th game.
And the 402nd game of Feliciano's Mets career. It moves him now into second place on the Mets all-time appearance list. Only John Franco has been in more games pitching for the Mets than Pedro Feliciano. Who did Pedro pass?
Tom Terrific.
Yep.
And his wonder dog, Manfred. Oh, tied him up inside. That's where you got to pitch him. Boy, he just overmatched him there. Totally broke down his swing.
Feliciano came on to face Gonzalez on Tuesday night in the 11th inning and got him to line out to David Wright at third. Feliciano now in second place in pitching appearances.
I had a hunch Jesse would be there somewhere.
Pedro's pitched in games for the Mets going back to 2003.
So just think if the Mets never traded Tom Terrific.
Yeah. Swing and a miss, and he gets Gonzalez. So Feliciano comes in to get his man, but it's 4-2 San Diego. Verizon Wireless. And by Ford, check out the best-selling vehicles in America. Drive one at your Tri-State Ford dealer today. Luke Gregerson comes on to pitch the bottom of the 7th inning for San Diego.
Well, he was the final piece of that 2009 trade with Khalil Green. And he completed that deal. He made 72 appearances last year for the Padres. Led the team, had a good year, 3.24 earned run average.
And even better this year, allowing just 12 hits so far. Mike Davis will lead it off as the Mets try and fight back in the bottom of the 7th.
Well, you wondering where Matt Latos went? Jeez.
Latos retired the last 13 batters to face him, went 6 innings, allowed 2 runs, 2 hits, a walk, and 8 strikeouts, and now Gregerson replaces him. And Davis looking to drop down a bunt against the shift. No, with the Padres putting 3 infielders on the right side and Headley halfway between second and third.
Well, that's going to bring the third baseman Headley over a little bit closer and in, and you can see right there. Whoa, what is that? That's a straight solid. I got to get it on the freehand solid.
I like the spot shadow better.
That's true. I could highlight that much better.
1-1 to Davis. It'll be Davis, then David Wright, and Jeff Francoeur for the Mets, who have had just 2 hits today. And no base runners since the second. Luke Gregerson has not walked any of the last 97 batters to face him, which is the longest streak of any Padre pitcher in their history. 97 batters, no walks. Davis pulls one foul, and it's 2-2.
Lefties are hitting .089 against him, and righties are hitting .133. So pretty impressive. Another gum chewer.
It's not a bad thing.
Oh, hey, it's better than the tobacco. I'll tell you that.
The only people who don't want you chewing gum are the teachers. No chewing gum in school. Swing and a miss. He struck him out.
What a nice curveball that was.
So Gregerson gets Davis for the first out of the home 7th.
This is picture perfect. Look at this location.
So 1 out. Let's check in with Kevin.
Talking with Padres pitching coach Darren Bowlesley about his philosophy, and he said, my philosophy is I don't have one. Everybody's an individual, and I treat the pitchers like that. He said the one thing is all our guys are schooled in throwing the fastball for strikes and locating the fastball different parts of the plate. In fact, in spring training, we don't even touch an off-speed pitch the last 2 weeks of spring training. That's how much I want to drill fastball into the minds. He said the other thing is honestly with our bullpen, we've been somewhat lucky. I mean, it seems like every year we have 7, 8, 9 in place, whether it was Scott Linebrink or Otzko or Heath Bell. And usually what happens is they have that 7th inning guy, and then the next year they move to the 8th inning, and then maybe even the closer. So it's just kind of worked that they've come across a lot of these arms. But he doesn't have an overall philosophy. He treats each guy differently. And as you can see, this staff is pretty loaded, guys.
Well, we saw it in San Diego. Pitcher after pitcher coming in and just throwing hard. On the outside corner, strike 3 called. So Wright, who got teased with a couple of sliders, goes down looking at the fastball. Gregerson with back-to-back strikeouts.
Might have been off the plate a tad too close to take. Let's see. It's going to be out. It's going to be off the plate. I'd have to give the umpire a little bit of my mind, too. Piece of my mind.
So 2 out, nobody on, and now Francoeur. 0 for 2. He's lined to right and taking a call, 3rd strike. 15 consecutive Mets have been retired. And Darren Bowlesley has his pitching staff #1 in the National League. And it's the primary reason why the Padres find themselves 10 games over 500. Henry Mejia getting ready in the Mets bullpen. And Francoeur chasing that slider, and it's 1-2.
Boy, oh boy. There's some good pitchers they run up here. This is another good breaking ball.
Keep spotting that thing on the outside part. This is away now with the fastball, and it's 2-2. Francoeur started the day with an 11-game hitting streak that might be on the line here in the 7th. Three and 2 now to Jeff. Alex Cora would be next. Gregerson's 3-2. And he struck him out with a slider. Luke Gregerson strikes out the side in the bottom of the 7th. Very impressive. On to the 8th we go. 4-2 Padres. friends Shavarish and Mandeep from New York Sports. They just launched. Check it out in the computer at nynysportsports.com. Here's the answer to your AT&T trivia question for this afternoon. We asked who are the 3 pitchers to win the Major League Triple Crown, wins, ERA, and strikeouts since 1950. That would be some elite. Mr. Koufax, Mr. Gooden, and Senor Santana.
Well, I knew Koufax would be in there. I forgot about Doc. That was that great year in '85.
You know, Doc had 2 starts that year where he allowed no runs and didn't get wins. Could have been even better than 24-4. Henry Mejia will come on to pitch the 8th.
Well, Henry, the big decision was made not to send Henry down to go back to starting, to keep him in the bullpen, and I agree. And he has really had a fine year, sparkling earned run average.
Scott Hairston will lead things off. Nick Hundley and Jerry Hairston Jr. to follow. 3 right-hand hitters against Mejia, who last pitched on Sunday against Florida, went 2/3 of an inning, allowed 1 hit in the Mets' comeback 7-6 win. And the fastball crackles in at 96. High ball 1. Just 20 years old and a constant source of discussion this year among the Mets higher-ups. Should he be here? Should he be down in the minors as a starter? Should he be given more responsibility? Is he pitching enough? Is he making progress? Well, from opening day, the answer has been his spot is in the bullpen. And he's still here. Out into right center field, and that'll fall for a hit. So Scott Hairston leads off in the 8th inning with a base hit. That is 5 straight innings now the Padres have put the leadoff man on. They have had themselves a scrappy game.
They're a scrappy bunch. They don't impress. It's not any shock and awe with them. They just kind of nibble at you.
Well, they know that with their pitching staff, they don't have to score a ton to win. Here's Hundley, who's 1 for 2 in a walk. And he grounds 1 to third. David with a nice backhand, off balance toss, gets the out at second, out at first, double play. Wow. David Wright with a blind look starts the 5-4-3.
Well, the throw from David starts it going. That's phenomenal. And nice turn by Cora. But this was what makes the play. That's the outstanding play. David on the throw. What a play.
The Mets' 4th double play of the afternoon, and that was a thing of beauty.
That was just all about getting rid of that ball in a hurry.
Mike Adams up in the San Diego bullpen. On a play like that, how do you pick up your target when you're falling away toward the line like that?
Well, you know where it's at. You have a general idea, and as you turn and pick it up, you know basically where you're going to throw it.
Oh, Hairston gets drilled by a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. And Jerry Hairston Jr. will go to first base.
That'll get your attention. Look at Blanco was set up on the outside corner and paid for it. Hit him in the ball, caromed off and rolled down his arm into his mask.
It can't be pleasant. 97 miles an hour, even on the fleshy part like that. Here's Chris Denorfia. He's hit into 2 of the 4 double plays the Mets have turned on the infield today. 0 for 3. And Denorfia takes a fastball for a strike. He is really dealing this afternoon.
Well, he throws hard, and when he locates with his overpowering fastball and that natural cutter of his, it can be devastating.
Think of how unusual it is for a major league team in the middle of the season like this to have 2 20-year-olds on the roster at the same time.
That's always a good thing.
You were 20 in the big leagues, but you didn't have any company, did you?
No, I was a little boy amongst 30 and 37-year-olds. I felt so out of place.
A babe in the woods.
Yes, I was.
1-2 to DeNorfia. Probably better off being a 20-year-old major leaguer in St. Louis, don't you think, than in New York?
Oh gosh, yes. Are you kidding? Not even close.
But Henry has handled himself well. And 1-2 on DeNorfia, and the curveball sits high. .38-year-old catcher, 20-year-old pitcher.
Lots of things to learn from the man with his back to us in the screen. Lots of things to pick up from.
There are a few catchers in this game better respected for their ability to handle pitchers and do the dirty work behind the plate than Henry Blanco. DeNorfia grounds one to right. Can't make the backhand pick. Stopping at second is Hairston. So after making a great play a moment ago, David Wright trying that sweeping backhand and unable to come up with it.
Well, I think he could have got in front of this ball. We've talked earlier about how Chip Hale has talked about the backhand. And I just disagree. I think an infielder, any infielder, to get in front of it, you get in front of it.
Well, I think the problem you run into is exactly what you saw there. If you get any kind of offbeat hop, instead of the ball coming up and hitting you in the chest,
right,
now it's scooting off the heel of your glove and going down the line.
Plus, you can tend to get lazy with your footwork if you're going to be content to go to a ball 2 feet to your right or left and backhand it, or use your forehand. And you're not working your lateral movement with your feet.
8th error of the year for David Wright. Now Tony Gwynn, who has a walk and a bunt single today, 1 for 2, and he scored a run. Hairston at second, DeNorfia at first with 2 out. And Will Venable has come out on deck to pinch hit if Gwynn can keep the inning going. And Mejia falls behind 2-0. Johan Santana went 6 2/3, and he's on the hook in this game. He allowed 4 runs and 8 hits, walked 4, struck out only 1, which is probably a tip-off to what Santana had working for him today. Pedro Feliciano struck out the only man to face him, and Mejia trying to fight his way through the 8th. There's a strike, 2-1 to Gwynn. And Gwynn wraps one to Reyes. And that ends the inning. David Wright turning a sparkling double play to help Henry Mejia through the 8th. Mets come up in the bottom of the 8th, down 4-2. In his first start back from the disabled list against the Marlins last Saturday. We'll try and back that up against John Garland, who has been pitching wonderfully for San Diego. Here we go to the 8th inning, and Mike Adams will take over the pitching for the Padres.
Well, Adams is picking up where he left off last year. Another fine season so far.
Adams stats presented by Harris. And Alex Cora leads off in the 8th inning. Well, 16 Mets in a row have been retired. The first 13 by Matt Latos, the last 3 by Luke Gregerson, who struck out the side of the 7th. And now Adams tries to pick up from there. Pitched a 1-2-3 inning on Tuesday night in the opening game of the series. 1-1 to Cora, who's flied out and struck out 0 for 2.
He missed much of the year last year with recovering from right shoulder surgery. Came up with Milwaukee. Well, he had a year last year.
Adams actually was in the Mets farm system for a little while in 2006. They got him in May and let him go on waivers in July.
He had 30, Chris Carter in the on-deck circle. He had 37 appearances last year with an ERA of 0.73 for the Pods.
Cora pulls one down to first, and Adrian Gonzalez, who has himself gold, takes it himself for the first out. That's 17 Mets in a row retired. Tonight after the postgame and at 1 a.m. get continued coverage of today's Mets-Padres doubleheader, plus a preview of the Mets series in Baltimore and more on the Jets as well. Interviews, highlights, recaps, everything New York sports on Geico Sports Night tonight after the postgame and at 1 a.m. only on SNY.
Gary, you mentioned it was kind of interesting.
And now Jesus Feliciano is going to make his major league debut. After 1,271 games in the minor leagues, at age 31, he just turned 31 Sunday, Jesus Feliciano finally gets to appear in a major league game. What must be going through his mind and his stomach right now?
Well, look at those numbers. 385 in AAA.
We've seen Jesus quite a bit during spring training over the last few years. He's been in the Mets farm system since 2007. And he seems to hit line drives every time he comes up during those spring training games.
Good cut.
Fernando Nieve up in the Mets bullpen, and K-Rod will join him there. Jesus, no relation to Pedro Feliciano, but they are terrific friends. Jesus started down in the Dodgers organization. Spent the last 3 seasons in AAA for the Mets. And he swings and misses at a high fastball. And Adams has his first strikeout. That's 12 today for San Diego pitching.
Well, he went up the ladder on him. Got ahead. Got him to go fishing.
So the first at bat for Jesus Feliciano. Not the result he would have wanted, but his name is now in the book. And after 13 years, that in and of itself is a good thing. Here's Chris Carter. Pinch hitting for Mejia. Carter hitting at 273.
Well, you can kind of get a feel, folks, out there watching this Padre bullpen, why they are where they're at. They can get a lead late. They bring in some guys that can close it.
Well, their bullpen has a collective ERA of 2.61. Just 200 base runners in 193 innings, which is sparkling. 1-1 to Carter. Bullpen best in ERA, best opposing batting average, fewest walks per 9 innings, second in strikeouts. And they haven't been overused. And all those things add up to success. Carter swings and misses 1-2. The last Met base runner was Henry Blanco, who circled the bases A 2-run homer in the second that gave the Mets an early lead. 18 Mets have come up since then. They've all been retired.
It's just amazing how far the medical has come today. As far as, you read, Mike Adams out most of last year with shoulders, recovering from shoulder surgery. Well, back in the day, you were finished. Most of the pitchers were done if they had shoulder surgery.
That's why they never complain. Carter hits one out to right field. DeNorfia is there. And so that's 19 Mets in a row retired. And as we head to the ninth, 4-2 San Diego. Mets Padres doubleheader, plus bring you a preview of the upcoming series in Baltimore as they take on the Hot 9 New York sports topics of the day in the next Wheelhouse, presented by Pepsi, today at 5:30 only on SNY. Juan Barajas will catch the ninth inning after Blanco left for a pinch hitter, and Fernando Nieve will pitch the ninth inning.
Well, Nieve's ERA is ballooned. Boy, he got off to that good start. Well, but he was the workhorse out of that bullpen. Now they've kind of backed him off.
It's gone from nightly Nieve to forgotten Fernando. Last pitched on Saturday, a scoreless inning against the Marlins. Will Venable pinch hitting, leading off in the top of the ninth. Venable, who started the opening game of the series in right field and went 0 for 4. Swings and misses, 1-0 and 2. It'll be Venable, then David Eckstein and Chase Headley for the Padres, who trailed this game 2-0, but got a run in the fourth, 2 in the fifth, and 1 in the seventh off Santana, who is on the hook in this game. Heath Bell getting ready to pitch the ninth. Mets will have the top of the batting order due up. Reyes, Pagan, and Bay against the former Met. Check swing, and Venable held in time. Tim Welke with the call. 2-2. David Eckstein has been right in the middle of things for the Padres today. He's on deck. Venable pops one a mile high, and Ike Davis waiting for it to come down. Battles it and stays with it. 1 away. Well, after we're done here, it'll be Lincoln Mercury postgame live. To see what's coming up, let's check in with Chris and Ron. Hey, Chris, you can borrow Ron, but we want him back. Here's Eckstein, who's 2 for 3 and a walk. Doubled in the tying run in the 5th, scored the go-ahead run, and then walked and scored the 4th San Diego run in the 7th. Eckstein hitting leadoff for only the 2nd time this year, both in this series. And it seems to have paid dividends for Bud Black. Eckstein having a good day. Chase Headley right behind him in the 2-hole for the first time in this series for the first time this year, and he delivered a run scoring hit. Padres have 9 hits today. The Mets have had but 2. And now Nieve behind Eckstein, 3-1. All right, Dickey will start Friday night's game in Baltimore. Mike Pelfrey will pitch the Sunday game. David Wright with a diving stop. Up and throwing out Eckstein. David with his 2nd sparkler in the last 2 innings. 2 away.
Oh, David's had a pretty good day with the glove. Outside of the 1 error, everything else he's picked beautifully. He started 2 double plays, 1 just beauty last inning.
So 2 out and nobody on, in that Chase Headley, who hit a long double batting right-handed over Frank Core's head in right field in the 7th inning.
Well, that was the big run right there, the insurance run for the Pods. Gave him that 2-run bulge.
Headley, a switch hitter, has been much better left-handed than right so far this year. Good off-speed pitch by Nieve, and it's 0-2. Well, we'll reconvene tonight for the second half of the day-night doubleheader. 6:30 the coverage on SNY with Jonathan Neese pitching against John Garland. That's 2 Jon Johns facing each other.
You're right. You're a very perceptive man. You know that?
But I'm not confusing one Milwaukee pitcher for another. 1-2 to Headley. That's Headley.
Headley. Not Hedy Lamar.
Headley. Well, as long as Chase Headley is around, Blazing Saddles will never die.
It'll never die. No.
Great Harvey Korman.
He was a huge baseball fan. Huge Dodger fan, Harvey.
2-2. Foul back. Nieve with a 2-2, and Headley grounds 1 to Cora. And so Nieve comes on, throws a 1-2-3 top of the ninth. Now the Mets on the top of the batting order up against Heath Bell on the bottom of the ninth, trying to come from behind. 10-game home winning streak in jeopardy. Heath Bell on to try and secure it for San Diego.
Well, Heath Bell, his 4th year with the Padres after being traded by the Mets back in 2006, the winter of 2006. Last year took over the closing role when Mr. Hoffman left, and boy, did he respond with 42 saves last year.
Of the National League with those 42 saves. Jose Reyes leads off in the last of the ninth. It was 7 years ago today that Jose Reyes made his major league debut as a 19-year-old in Texas. The next day he turned 20, which means, I think my calculations are correct, that tomorrow Jose will turn 27.
He hasn't even entered his prime yet.
Reyes is 1 for 3, had an infield single back in the first. From the team that the Mets had the day that Reyes came up in 2003, there were only 2 players left in the major leagues. Ty Wigginton and Pedro Feliciano. How about that?
You're amazing.
No, I didn't make it up. That's the Elias Sports Bureau. They're amazing. The Mets have had only 2 hits today. They have not had as few as 2 hits in a game this year. Their season low is 3. Padre pitchers have retired 19 in a row since the Henry Blanco home run in the second. Reyes' infield single, the only other hit. The Mets had 3 hits in Roy Halladay's shutout victory against them back on the 1st of May. Reyes slaps one down to third, and Chase Headley's got it. High throw, but not too high, and Gonzalez is there to grab it. And that's 20 Mets in a row retired. So Angel Pagan comes to bat with 1 out and nobody on. Pagan is 0 for 3. He's struck out twice.
Well, they're going to have to respect Pagan of potential to drag bunter, and third baseman Headley in at third.
Slider in for a strike from Bell.
Well, Bell always had the great curveball. He just never got any respect over here when he was with the Mets. It was always Norfolk and back. He never really got an opportunity until he went over to the Pods.
And, you know, Heath is quick to remind people of that. But you look at the numbers, and he didn't pitch very well as a Met either. But they were great in AAA.
They wore him out that one year. They overworked him. They left him out there one couple games. I remember where he just left him out there to die. You know, sometimes an organization that the powers to be or a manager, or it could be a pitching coach, you're just not on their radar screen. They don't think you have it. Boy, going to the Padres was a career change for Heath.
Pagan pops one up in left center field. Hairston is there. And the Mets are down to their final out of the afternoon. 21 in a row retired. The first 13 by the starter Matt Latos. Luke Gregerson struck out the side on the 7th. Mike Adams got him 1, 2, 3 in the 8th. And now Bell has gotten the first 2 in the 9th. And it's left to Jason Bay.
Well, the last base hit, or man on base for the Mets, was the 2-run homer by Blanco.
That gave the Mets a 2-0 lead in the second. Padres fought back against Santana. And now the Mets are 1 out away from their first home loss in a long time. And Dave foul tips 1-0-1. Jason today 0 for 3, 3 fly balls. And 0 for 8 in this series. And there's a strike. And now Bell ahead 0-2. Mets' last home loss came against the Yankees on May the 21st. They lost the first game of that series to Javier Vasquez, and they have won every home game since. Bay lifts one out to right field, and Denorfia drifts back, has plenty of room, and the ball game is over. The Padres combined to retire the last 22 Mets in this game and come away with a 4-2 victory as the Mets are held to a season-low 2 hits.
Well, too much Matt Latos. He went 6 innings, boy, 8 strikeouts, and just finished strong. The bullpen, as Gary said, was outstanding, and the Pods offensively do what they do best. They just peck away. They took advantage of Santana, who had 4 walks in 6 2/3, and in those 4 walks, the Padres mounted 4 runs and enough to beat Santana.
17 saves for Heath Bell. Latos gets his 6th win, allowing just 2 hits and striking out 8 over 6. Henry Blanco's 2-run homer, the only bright spot for the Mets. Game summary brought to you by Audi. We'll be right back.